Well, now that we've spent some time practicing performing operations with rational numbers without a calculator, now we're going to make sure that we can perform the same type of operations with the help of a calculator. So that's the I can statement for today. 4.4, I can perform rational number operations with the help of a calculator. And it's important to remember a calculator is just a help, it's just a tool, and we're going to talk more about that in just a second. So here's the warm-up. What's the difference between putting the following commands in your calculator? So this one says 12 divided by 2, and this one also says 12 divided by 2, but you'll notice that there's a difference in the way that they're written. And depending on how sophisticated the calculator is, and we're going to be using ones that are relatively sophisticated, they're pretty darn cool. I would have killed for one of these when I was in school. But if you put this in your calculator, if you do this correctly, it gives you a decimal. It gives you a decimal answer, and calculators are really good at those. If you've got one that's a little bit more sophisticated where you can put in fraction bars, if you do this correctly, it gives you a reduced fraction. Now, as we've talked about before, decimals and fractions, they can be equivalent as long as we work with them the right way. So if I do 2 divided by 12, it'll give me the decimal equivalent of 2 over 12, which would be 1/6. So let's run through this paragraph just so we can make a couple of important points. A calculator is a very powerful tool. It is only a tool, and what it does is it makes our work easier to complete. The tool can free our minds from tedious calculations, so things that are just kind of a pain in the butt. I mean, long division problems, multiplication problems, different things like that, so that we can concentrate on more complex ideas. So we use our brain to figure out the problem, and we might have a calculator assist us in getting the number answer or something like that. A calculator should never be viewed as a magic box. It is not a magic box that just gives us an answer, and we should always understand what we are putting into our calculator and the work that it's doing for us. You should also have an idea of what type of answer your calculator is going to give us. So is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? Is it going to be big? Is it going to be small? In other words, if you have an estimate, you might be able to catch an input error. And an input error is when we put things in the calculator the wrong way. Okay, so remember, your calculator is very good, but if you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. It will only be as good as the information that you put into it. Now, in this particular class, we're going to use a calculator called a TI-30XII. This one has a B at the end of it. That means it's battery powered. If yours has an S at the end of them, which a lot of them do, that means it's solar powered. But the key structure is the same, and if you use a different TI calculator like a 34 or a 30X some other model or something like that, the 30s and the 34s are very similar, so you just need to find where these particular buttons would be on your particular calculator. So a couple of calculator basics that I'd like to go over and make sure that everybody understands. There usually is a second function key on the calculator, and the second function key on this one is right here. On this one it happens to be green, yours may be blue. It's a different color than most of the other buttons, and it says second on them. So that allows us to access some of the functions that are above, or some of the operations that are above some of the keys. So notice that on this one it's green, and above almost every single one of these there's a green symbol or operation or something like that. So in order to access those, you've got to hit this second function button first. It's a way to make a calculator that has fewer buttons but maybe twice as many operations and things like that. It's a really cool thing. So for example, if you want this function right here, which is in green, and that's F double arrow D, which means we're going to change from a fraction to a decimal or decimal to a fraction, which might be very useful. Your calculators know how to do that. In order to do that, we have to hit the second key and then the PRB key. So on this particular calculator, the PRB key is right here. Okay, I've kind of blown that region up, and right up above it, it says F double arrow D. So if we wanted to change something from a fraction to a decimal or decimal to a fraction, in order to access that, I've got to hit the second button and then the PRB, and that it won't do the PRB, the probability menu there. It'll actually do the fraction arrow decimal. Okay, so some of the things that we're going to be really interested in is fraction to decimal conversion. Fraction to decimal conversion. So that's one of the things that we're going to be using a lot is that F double arrow D. This allows you to convert answers from fractions to decimal form and vice versa. So it knows which form you're putting it in. If you put it in a decimal form and hit that button, it knows you want a fraction. If you put it in a fraction form and hit that button or that series of buttons, it knows that you want a fraction from that. So and then there's another button right here, and again this has to be accessed using the second function key. This is the mixed number to improper fraction conversion, or just fraction conversion. It allows us to convert answers from mixed fraction to improper fraction and vice versa. So if you put in a mixed number, it'll give back an improper fraction. If you put in an improper fraction, it'll give you a mixed number. Okay. Now, one of the most important buttons that we're going to use is this one right here, okay, and that is the fraction input button. So it allows you to put in mixed numbers, proper fractions, improper fractions, all with the same key. So if you were going to put in 1/2, you'd put in a 1, then you'd hit that ABC button. I call it the fraction input button. So we'd hit the 1, then we did ABC, and then we'd hit the 2. If we were going to put in a mixed number like 2 3/4, I hit the 2, then the fraction input button, then the 3, and then the fraction input button, then the 4. So you put them all in. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So you'll notice that I've changed formats here. I've got the notes off to this side right here, and over here I've got a video of our calculator that we'll be using. So this is the same calculator that I've got on the screen. And I just want to show you the keys here. So I've got this zoomed in so you can kind of see the keys and see the screen really well. So I'm going to lower this down to here so you can see all of the important keys right here. And what you'll be missing is maybe if I hit any buttons, you know, numbers or anything like that. So not too big a deal. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one right here. So if we were going to input 1/2 as a fraction, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on. So I'm going to hit the on button right there. Okay. If there's anything on there, I'm going to go ahead and clear it off, and the clear button is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit clear. And then again, here's the fraction input button. And then above that in light blue is the mixed number to fraction decimal or fraction key, and then there's the PRB, and above PRB is the F double arrow D. So that's going to be the fraction to decimal, decimal to fraction. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do fraction input. So I'm going to hit the number 1, then I'm going to hit fraction input, and that's going to give me that little backwards L. That's just the way this particular programming works. It knows that we're putting in a fraction, so then I'm going to put in a 2, and then I'm going to hit the equal sign. I'm going to hit the enter button down here. So when I hit the enter button, watch what happens. It shows me the fraction is 1/2. So I've got the 1 and then the fraction bar and then a half right there. So I'm good to go there. Let's do another one. So I'm going to clear this off. Let's do the 2 3/4. So this one right here, we're going to do the 2 3/4. So if we're going to do 2 3/4, here's the cool part about this. We're going to input the 2. I'm going to hit the fraction input key, the A, capital A, and then the B, lowercase c. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that. I'm going to put in the 3, hit it again, and then I'm going to hit the 4. Now, even though all of these look the same, the calculator knows that this is the whole number, this is the numerator, and this is the denominator. So when I hit the enter button, take a look at what happens. It has the 2, and then it has a little, kind of a small little u, and then it has the fraction 3/4. Not sure exactly what this is. Probably stands for unit or something like that. So 2 are the whole units, and then 3/4 are the fractions of a unit or something like that. But anyway, that's the way you put those in there. So we're going to go through, and now that we know how to input those, we're going to go through and we're going to do each one of these problems. So I am going to blow this up just a bit, and you've got a full size one of those on your paper. So hopefully you can just kind of follow through with these. I'm going to put the 2 of them right here. So again, we're going to do a couple that have just integers. So I'm going to do the first one. I'm going to clear this off, and we're just going to say negative 18. Now, first question is, hey, where's the negative? The negative is right here. It's on this bottom row. The negative is smaller, and you'll notice that this one's big and in the middle, so I'm going to show you those because a lot of people make mistakes. They'll say, hey, I'm going to put in a -2, and they'll do it wrong. So I'm going to put it in the correct way, and then I'm going to show you the wrong way. So I'm going to hit the negative button. I'm going to hit this right here. And there's the negative sign, and then we need an 18, and then we're going to do plus 492. So 18 plus 492, I can check and see that what's on my paper is the same as on my screen. I'm going to hit enter, and we get 474. Now let's see. We said we should kind of have an estimate of whether or not that's right. Were we expecting positive, negative, big number, small number? Well, remember, we're just combining these. So this is like owing somebody $18 and having $492. So we're still going to have a lot of money by the time we're done paying them. So the answer on this one is 474, and we can just circle that and we're done. Okay, I told you I'd show you how to put this in the wrong way. I'm going to use the minus key rather than the negative key to put this in, and I'll show you what the calculator does. So I'm going to clear this off. I'm going to hit the minus button. Whoops. I wonder if it will let me do that. Yeah, I guess it won't. So that's a good hint right there that we're making a mistake. So if I put the negative key, it puts that there, and then there's my 18, and then plus 492. And there's our answer of 474. Okay, I'll do that on another one here. The next one is, we'll do this one the right way. Negative, so hit the negative button right there, right next to the decimal key. Negative and 54 plus, and then I've got a set of parentheses right here. There's a set of parentheses right there. There's an open parentheses and a closed parentheses. And above that is a little comma. The comma might come in handy, so just keep that in mind. We won't use that now, but that will come up later on. I'm going to do parentheses and then negative and then 19. Whoops. Got to do 19. Okay, now let's have a good idea of what's going on here. We've got negative 54 plus negative 19. So this really would be, if we were to rewrite this, negative 54 minus 19. So we're expecting a pretty big negative number. I mean, you might know what the answer is right off the bat, but I'm going to hit enter. It tells us the answer is negative 73, and it is. Okay, so negative 73. Now I want you to keep that in mind, but remember, I'm going to go through and I'm going to do this a couple different ways. I'm going to go ahead and type in negative 54. I'm just going to do a minus 19. Gives me the same answer. So I basically put this problem right here, and I put in negative 54 minus 19. The calculator makes a distinction between a negative and a minus. This is an operation, and this means the opposite of the number. So watch what happens if I do negative 54 and then I try to do negative 19. Let's see what it does right there. It says syntax error. Okay, syntax, it means that we've put something in the wrong way. Okay, so to get out of that, I'm going to clear this off. And so that doesn't work using the negative there. So I'm going to do negative 54, and then I'm going to do plus. Open the set of parentheses. Now I'm going to put the minus there on purpose. Okay, and then I'm going to do that. Okay. Now what I want you to notice is there's a big difference between that negative right there and that minus. The minus, the operation of subtracting, is longer and in the middle, and the negative is shorter and kind of up one level of pixels or so. Let's see what the calculator does here. Also says syntax error, so make sure you know the difference between when you're supposed to use subtraction and a negative. So we got those answers right. Okay, so I'm going to clear this off, and we're going to do the next one. So let me slide this over. So we're going to do negative 0.74 divided by, hit the negative, negative 80. Okay, so we double check, make sure we're in good shape here. First of all, we're expecting a positive answer, and it's probably pretty small because we're taking a small number like 0.74 and dividing it by a huge number like 80. So let's see what we get here. Yep, we get a small number, so we get 0.00925. So there's our answer on that one. Now the cool thing is these are really ugly problems, but they're a piece of cake when we do them on the calculator. So we're going to clear this off. So we can, clear this off so we can put in the next one. Again, clear buttons right there. I need to put in a negative, so watch what happens if I do minus. Again, it basically says it's going to take the answer and subtract something. We don't want that. We want to put in negative, so I'm going to use the negative key right there. So negative 9.576, and then we're going to divide. I would not want to divide this by hand. 0.025. Take just a quick second to double check and make sure that you've typed it in the calculator the right way, and then hit equals or enter. We were expecting a negative here, so this is going to be negative 383.04. Again, way easier to do by hand or on calculator than to do it by hand. Okay, so we should be in good shape there. All right, let's take a look at some of the fraction problems now. So again, I'm going to clear this off, and we need to type in the fraction negative 18 and 5/6. So I'm going to do negative 18. Here's the fraction input, and then we're going to do let's see, 5 fraction input 6. So there's our negative 18 and 5/6. Then I'm going to subtract, and then I'm going to go ahead and put this in parentheses. Parentheses negative, let's use that negative, 4 fraction input. We need the 2 fraction input, and then we need the 11. So I'll do 2 1s, and there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and close the parentheses. Again, the parentheses are right here above the 8 and 9. Open parentheses above the 8, close parentheses above the 9. So we're going to go ahead and close that. Now, if you want to, you can use these arrow keys to kind of go back and look at everything and make sure you have it correct. So there's the negative 18 and 5/6. There's the minus. There's the parentheses and the negative. And there's the negative 4 and 2/11. Let's go ahead and hit enter and see what it says. Now here's the cool part about this. This gives us a mixed number. So negative 14 and 43/66. Cannot imagine doing that by hand. That would be a huge pain in the butt. So I'm going to go ahead and write down negative 14 and 43/66. Okay, but remember, once we get past 6th grade or so, we normally want things as improper fractions. So we're not going to write it like that. But we don't have to do this by hand. We don't have to change it to an improper fraction by hand. So notice above here, this is the ABC to DE. This means mixed number to fraction button. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it by hitting the second key because it's one of these light blue ones up above here. So I'm going to hit second. It says take the answer and change it from mixed number to fraction or fraction to mixed number. So the cool part is it knows which it needs to do. So we're going to go ahead and hit enter. It takes its time, and it gives us an answer of negative 967/66. Okay, and that's the right answer. Now, just to double check, let's make sure that that gave us the right answer. We do 66 times 14 and then plus 43. So I'm just going to grab that right here. 66 times 14, and then I would add 43. There's our 967, and the denominator would be 66, so we're in good shape there. Okay, I'm going to clear that off, and I'm going to go ahead and do this one. We're going to do B. So we're going to do negative, again, hit the negative, 7, fraction input. We've got to have that backwards L. That indicates the difference between the mixed part of the whole number and the numerator and the denominator. So we've just got negative 7/20. Okay, and then we're going to do plus 5 fraction input 22. Okay, so it says negative 27/220, and that's totally okay. That's an improper fraction or a reduced fraction right there. So negative 27/220. So there's our answer right there. And let's do the last couple here. And then I will go through and do a bunch of the assignment so you can kind of get used to it. I'll show you how to use the calculator if you need. So let's see, clear this off. Negative 12 fraction input 11, and then we're going to do plus. Notice that this is a negative right here. It looks like a minus, but remember, if there are two symbols next to each other, that second one's got to be a minus, sorry, a negative. So I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm going to do 3 fraction input 11 fraction input 15. And I kind of double check and make sure that I've put that in there correctly. Again, you can use those arrow keys to go back to the beginning. There's the negative 12/11ths, that's an improper fraction. There's our negative 3, and there's our 11/15. So we're in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. It's going to give us the answer as an as a mixed number. We want an improper fraction. So again, I'm going to use that mix to fraction button. So I'm going to hit this second and then the fraction input key. It's going to tell us what it's going to do. It's going to take the answer. That's what ANS stands for, and it's going to change from mixed to fraction and fraction to mixed if need be. And we get negative 796/165. So negative 796/165. Okay, so there's our answer on that one. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Now this one's kind of interesting. 10.8. That would be 10 and let's see, 8/9. Okay, so I'm going to put it in that way, and then I'm going to show you something else. So we're going to do, it's positive, so 10 fraction input, 8 fraction input, 10 and 8/9. And I'm going to double check right here so I don't have to come back and do this. Then we're going to divide, and I'm going to do 4 fraction input, 2 fraction input, 5, and I think we're in good shape there. We're going to go ahead and hit enter. We were expecting a positive because both of these numbers were positive, so we're in good shape there. And this is about 10 and that's about 5. It should go in there about twice. We're going to change that to improper fraction, so I'm going to hit second. Fraction input key gives us that mix to fraction button. So we end up with 245/99. 245/99. Whoops, 245/99. Okay, so there's our answer. Go ahead and circle that one. Okay, let's do this again. I'm going to do it this way. There's something kind of cool about these calculators. Now, not every calculator has this ability, but if I do 10.8, if I fill up the screen with 8s, and then I hit divide, and then I do 4 fraction input, 2 fraction input, 5, it knows that what we meant was repeating that 8 on continuously. Notice the repeating pattern of 2.4747. Think about why that 5 is there. It's because it rounded that 4 that's supposed to be there. Now here's the cool part. Let's change this to a decimal. So let's use that fraction to decimal key. So I'm going to hit second PRB, fraction to decimal, and look what it gives us. That's the 2 and 47/99. And then I'm going to change that to from a mixed number to a fraction. And there's our 245/99. So that's actually kind of cool. So we're going to do that with E. So let's take a look at E. This one is a bit of a mess here. So here's the cool part. I'm going to put in negative 56.4. Now notice only the 8 repeats. So I'm just going to do 8s. I'm going to fill up the screen. Then I'm going to add 15 and 1/2, and rather than put it in as a fraction, I'm just going to do 15.5. So I'm going to put in 2 decimal numbers. It's definitely going to give me a decimal number as an answer. Notice that what happens here is we've got a repeating, we've got a 9 and then an 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. That 9 is there because it just rounded up that next 8. I'm going to take this and I'm going to change it to a fraction, so I'm going to use that fraction to decimal key. So I'm going to hit second PRB. Gives us negative 40 and 89/90. Let's change that to an improper fraction. So let's hit the second and then the fraction input key. And we get, let's see, negative 3,689/90. And there's the answer. Okay. As you're going through and doing these, make sure that you're putting things in the calculator correctly. Again, if you put the wrong thing in, it's going to give you the wrong answer. Hate it when somebody comes up and says, but my calculator said this. Well, that doesn't mean it's right. If you put the wrong thing in, you're going to get the wrong thing out. So make sure you're careful as you're going through and doing these. And good luck with the assignment. If you want, I will make a video showing how to do each one of the problems on the assignment, how to input them in the calculator. All right, good luck.